Hi, I'm Amy Smollers, and welcome to this week's episode of Reflective Fridays. So, for this week, I want to share with you some things that I've learned from doing my podcast interviews. And I just did another amazing one this afternoon, and I'm just revved up from having that discussion and getting those tidbits. And so, I wanted to share them with you because they resonated with me so much. As every single interview that I do, I learn something new. And I cannot wait for you all to hear this. So it's going to be live and on iTunes next week. So stay tuned, and I will be sure to let you all know when it's available to listen and download. But from today, one of the biggest takeaways from this individual that I was talking with is the idea of, and something near and dear to my heart, bring it back to the basics. Bring it back to what's natural, to what we flow into, that it's not hard, it's not as much of a struggle, that we can go into something that's natural for us to do. But the challenge is, before we can do that, oftentimes we need to face up to something that is blocking us from what's natural for us to do. And facing up to that, or admitting to ourselves that, instead of saying, well, I want to do that, but I can't, I don't have time, or I don't have the resources, or whatever the excuses are. That's all they are, is excuses. And even sometimes we're lying to ourselves. And then we believe those excuses are real, right? We believe that that's what we're stuck doing. And to be on the receiving end of hearing that information of what would be natural to you, what is it that would make sense for you to do, and what's blocking you from doing that? What are you telling yourself that it has to be a certain way, and that's being a roadblock? And the hardest part is getting rid of that roadblock. And one of the reasons being is we have to be honest with ourselves. And as much as we like to be honest with other people, as much as we like to be honest about people we see on TV, or people that are quote unquote famous or movie stars, and we, to break them down into their honesty that they're just people, I think for ourselves to really look at yourself with fresh eyes and imagine that you heard someone else give the same excuses you share with other people. Would you buy it? Would you really say, oh yeah, I get it, that makes sense? Or would you have in the back of your mind, oh yeah, I hear what you're saying, but in the back of your mind you're thinking, well actually, if you just made time, you can get that done. Or if that was really important to you, you'd do it. But we don't like to hear that voice, our own voices, because it's hard to hear our own voices. And from the interview today, it's the realization that we need to bring it back to the basics, bring it back to what's natural for us, go to our own voices, and figure out what we need to do there, right? So it's not that change itself is hard, but the admitting that we want or need to change can sometimes be the hardest part. So my challenge for you today, with all that, it feels a little deeper and heavier today, but that's the mode that I'm in, and that's, I think, really that reflective mode. And the challenge is, for this past week, look back, and has there been something, or has something come in your mind that you've made an excuse for not doing? Or you're like, oh, that'd be interesting, but has been the start of the next sentence. And the challenge is to write that down and think about it. And the thing that you gave an excuse for, is it something that's really important to you? Something that would really enable you to shine and break through? And so think about that, because what I'd like to do is bring it back to this conversation next Friday and do the next step. So if you come to something where you've made an excuse, well, think about what it is and if it's really important to you. And if it is, we'll talk about that next week. And thank you so much for sharing your time with me on this Friday afternoon, or for those of you in Australia and other parts of the world, and maybe tomorrow, so maybe Saturday. But I really appreciate and honor your time. And don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel so you get these videos automatically. And I'm really interested in receiving your feedback or comments, or there's topics you'd like to hear about. I got a couple great comments earlier this week, and so that's what spawned some of this discussion today and into next week on some how-tos. And so I'd love to share those with you as well. So thanks so much. And as always, don't forget to start and end every day with a smile.